Hey everybody, it's Matt and welcome back to Crypto Kings. In today's video, I have awesome news about Shiba Inu that I think a lot of us have been waiting for, but finally saw come to life today. So if you guys are new, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So we've been waiting a very long time for SHIB to have a green day, and it finally looks as if we are entering the green again, pushing up around 7% here on the 24-hour window, back up into the 70s. And this might not sound like a big deal if you bought somewhere around 20 or 30 or 40, but if you guys bought it around 80, which I know there are people out there who did, unfortunately, it is going to happen, unfortunately, when you have something that is so overinflated in that short period of time. That's going to happen, and I think a lot of people who bought in the 80s are breathing a sigh of fresh air right now, considering we have finally re-entered the 70s. Now, why is this so important? Well, when we take a look at our graph here, guys, there were a lot of very bad indicators that were giving us some concern, and I feel like going over those indicators is worth mentioning. So when it comes down to it, guys, the number one issue here is that this entire region really couldn't be classified in any way, shape, or form. Now, what do we mean by this? Well, there are a few things that we'll always try to do, and the first thing that just about any trader tries to do is to create a series of wedges. The reason why is because there are around 10, 15-ish different types of wedges, and each one has its own type of indication. So there are wedges out there like a falling wedge, an ascending wedge, and any wedge like this will typically mean bullish or bearish. They all have their own specific meanings, and honestly, instead of trying to memorize them all, just look them up. It'll take you 30 seconds. It's so much easier than putting yourself through all that aggravation. So you can look up all the different types of wedges. It's easy to do, and I think that is the best way to get a gauge of what you're looking at. Now, the issue here with Shiba Inu is the fact that this region did not want to fall into any sort of wedge. But before we get to what it did fall into, make sure to check out Webull, guys. Top of the link down below in the description. Is so easy to do. You guys go over there and set up an account, and it'll give you guys 2 free stocks valued up to $2,300. So if you guys want to get started trading stocks, crypto, you guys can get into Shiba Inu as well over there. Definitely check it out at the top of the link in the description. And of course, if you guys use that, I get a couple free stocks as well. So if you guys like me and want to support the channel, I always do appreciate it. So when it comes down to it, guys, unfortunately, this region could not be classified in any real way. When we take a look at the idea of a symmetrical wedge, what you guys can see is that, yes, while this looks nice in theory, we're missing some key indicators. Mainly, this volume and this sort of hype here is not enough to push it towards the top of this symmetrical wedge. Same thing, it should have been a little bit lower here, and it really should have been just a little bit more filled out. You know, there are a lot of instances in this symmetrical wedge where it should have just been a little bit more full, and the fuller something like this is, the easier it is to predict, because you are having a more accurate look at indicators that historically have been proven to be true. So when you have something like this and the candles don't respond in a way that is particularly accurate, it makes it very difficult. Then people said, okay, what about an ascending wedge where we have, something that's a little bit more flatline on the top and then extremely, sort of strong on the bottom here. Now, the issue with this, again, we run into the same problem. It's just not full enough. It's not filled out in the way it really should be. And this is the way a ascending wedge really should look. So, moral of the story, we have all of these different possible indicators, some bullish, some bearish, but when it comes down to it, none of them are particularly accurate with these candles. Then the other issue is that we have this rounded top here, which some brilliant people in my live stream were talking about. I didn't even pick up on this at first, but a lot of very smart people in my live stream were talking about this, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, I stream most days over on YouTube around 11 p.m. Eastern, midnight Eastern, sometime around there, so definitely would love to have you guys over there. But what a lot of people were pointing out is that there is a very clear rounding of this top here, and a rounded top like this is historically known to be extremely bearish for the long run, and that is obviously a very bad thing. So this obviously is not the be-all end-all, but seeing this kind of rounding is a little bit difficult, because ideally you would want to have seen a recovery that is a little bit less round. Ideally, instead of seeing this section coming back into the 70s, the low 70s and the 60s, you would have wanted to see it kind of sit around the mid 70s, something like this. And then if that happened, of course, we would have seen an area of consolidation, which could have sat between, maybe 76 and 72, and could have stayed like this for a month, a week. Who knows? But it would have been fine, because most people would have been either slightly down or up on their SHIB investment. Think about it. If it consolidated between 76 and 72, I think most people will be relatively satisfied. Even if you bought at 88, that still establishes a good amount of long-term stability if we consolidate in the 70s for a long period of time. That is amazing stuff. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that happened. So we saw a very bad downturn here all the way down to 58. But that is when things changed a little bit. You guys can see we had a very new, sort of unprecedented, sort of set of growth here that completely snaps us out of this really weird, inconsistent, kind of bearish pattern into something completely different. Now, this new region is really yet to chart. We really don't know what this new region is going to look like or what it's going to do. What I can say is it does look significantly better than a lot of other parts of this graph. It does look a lot better than the 27th up until the 31st, because really this volatility here does not look that good. And again, we have the rounding on the top, the fact you really can't quantify it in any set of wedges. No matter how hard you try, it really doesn't want to fit in any of these wedges, making it extremely difficult to monitor. So this new region here, set up of course on the late night tonight, looks extremely good because this new region is setting up something completely different. In theory, from what I could tell, you could ignore all of this and let this new region here do all of the work. Of course, when we check the relative strength index, you guys see here on screen, it is giving us a little bit of an indication that we are getting, towards the overbought area, but still have some headroom. So we could definitely sit around 72, 73, 74 for the rest of the night and day tomorrow, of course, if we wanted to, without having any problems. So that is always a good sign. When we are to check, of course, the Fibonacci retracement, you guys can see, of course, here on screen, I'm going to put the retracement on here. We have the extension and the retracement here. I actually added both here. You guys can see here over on screen, it is outlining the most recent runs. So we have obviously from 57 up until the 69 here on this recent run. But what makes this unusual, of course, is the fact that we are in completely new territory here. So this really doesn't have much of a historical kind of basis for these lines of support. But the only thing I could say is that the 61.8% line here, which is being covered by this candle, the 61.8% line here looks to be a line of support yet again. Now, this line is very important because I've talked about this line in previous videos, and when we refresh here, you guys can see it looks as if, and I've been pointing this out for the past couple of days here, it looks as if right around 60 is the line of support. And yet again, every single time, right as we approach 60, it appears to have some level of snapback. And this happens in at least 4 instances here. Right as we approach right below 60, it instantly snaps back up. So it does look as if that is safe for the near future. When it comes down to it, guys, again, I definitely do think that we are entering some new territory here and being given some new bits of information that we definitely did not have, exiting that very bearish kind of outlook, and I do think this could be great for the future. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. We always have all enjoyed. Make sure to check out Webull. Top of the link down below in the description. My name is Matt. See you guys on the next one. Peace.